Agencies Drinking Beer is brought to you by Proposify, software that helps you deliver beautiful proposals in the cloud and close more deals.
Welcome to the 61st episode of Agencies Drinking Beer. On today's show, we're talking to Benjamin Nathan, based in New York, and he's going to talk about creating a socially conscious company and how posting one YouTube video helped him close 6 deals in 48 hours.
Excellent intro.
Yes, it was. Thank you. I worked hard on that for 25 seconds.
You're becoming a pro.
Do it in my sleep. You're doing well?
I'm doing great.
Yeah.
How about you?
Pretty
tired.
good. Yeah, I'm a little tired.
Yeah.
A little tired. You can hear my voice, but...
Probably that rough workout you had this morning.
Yeah.
Macho.
No, it was actually a workout.
Macho man.
So we have an interview coming up with Ben Nathan. It's nice to have a very simple name to pronounce this week. Sometimes I'm challenged by the names.
It's kind of like CBC. You ever heard their names? They're all out there.
No. CBC?
Okay. Yeah. I don't know why.
What's one example?
I think they hire people that have very unusual names. Remember Costas Halivresos?
No.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I suppose they have George Strompolopoulos.
Yeah. And
George Snuffleupagus.
Anyhow, you liked this interview because you're just a movie buff.
Yeah. At some point, we sort of just trailed into talking about the Coen brothers. So
yeah,
that was pretty
very
fun.
cool. Yeah.
So before we get into that interview, we're actually going to launch a blog post. Well, actually, I suppose by the time we post this podcast, we will have launched the blog post. I'm going to talk about it. And it's tentatively titled, Does Your Digital Agency Have a Lead Magnet? 8 Ideas to Get You Started. What do you think, Kevin?
I think it's great. Look forward to reading it.
I like how I put you on the spot.
You always do.
So, when we talk to agency owners, a lot of them... their biggest problem is generating leads because so many of them rely on word of mouth and just, past clients and all that kind of stuff. And yet so few of them actually use lead magnets. So this is a post to help get you thinking about creating a lead magnet. First of all, what is one? What is a lead magnet? I think of it as like, at the mall near our place, Micmac Mall it's called. It's kind of a funny name, but it's... there's a food court there. So anytime I'm at the food court, there's this Mediterranean place. And if I'm ever walking around like thinking, what should I get for lunch? They're always yes. You holding out the sample, the skewer, right? Oh, you want some? And of course he's going to turn down a free little piece of chicken shawarma or whatever, right? And you have it and then you're like, yeah, okay, I think I'm going to get a meal. It works really well. And they're the only ones who do it. Nobody else does it.
It's true. That's
what a lead magnet is. It's a free little, it's like that first taste of crack. Well, whatever, assuming. Become a crack dealer. No, it's that free little piece of value that gets people hooked on what you're doing and makes them buy the full thing, right? Because not everybody who comes to your site is ready to buy at that stage. So this is where, if you're an agency who offers kind of high-end, high-priced services, you should start collecting leads by producing something that's going to give them some value, naturally leads them into inquiring about getting a proposal and hiring your agency. So what are some ideas for this? I think one of the best things agencies can do is put on webinars, because webinars are a great way to establish your authority, talk about a topic. So in this blog post, I'm actually using some examples, some made-up examples, just to kind of get people thinking about it. Because I think the more specific, the better. Of course, we always talk about specialization. So imagine you're a mobile app design company and you specialize in working with SaaS startups. Or, and this is sort of taken from Verb, a digital agency who specializes working with hotel and travel companies. You would want to take like a very specific, what's a problem that your ideal client is looking for a solution for? What's a question they have that they're looking for answers for, and then answer something very specifically. So if you're a mobile app company working with SaaS startups, you may not want to produce something very generic like how to build a mobile app. It would be more something like For a webinar, it could be, what was the example I used? Like 3 questions SaaS companies need to answer before planning a mobile app, for example. Get them on a webinar, go through the presentation, and, the more specific your title, of course, the more qualified the leads are going to be. Because, using that example about 3 questions SaaS companies need to answer before planning a mobile app, that you're going to make sure that people listening to that are, in fact, SaaS companies that are planning on building a mobile app, right? So they're a very targeted group. And, the nice thing now is that, I'm not sure if you know this, Kevin, but there's no more Google Hangouts on air.
Oh, I didn't know that.
As of September 12th, they switched it all over. It's all YouTube now. So if you want to do a live event, you can just go to YouTube, go to your channel, and there's a thing called live streaming. You just go stream now.
And then it automatically records it, does it?
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. Of course, you can invite people to it. Now, of course, you'll want to set up a funnel. You want like a landing page for people to sign up and all that kind of stuff, and then get their email addresses and all that kind of stuff. Won't go into that much detail, but so I think webinars are a great thing for agencies because it's like getting a bunch of leads in a room and answering their questions right in front of them, saving a lot of time that way.
We had a guest on a while back that was their focus, webinars.
Yeah, that was Zach Johnson,
yeah.
Game Changer Profits.
That was a great concept. So it falls along those lines.
Worked well for them, yeah, definitely. Then we should, the people should check out that podcast episode. Another one is free consulting or 30-minute consulting. I think people should be pretty careful with that because he can just get you on the phone, spending a lot of time with
Give
people.
away the farm and they go somewhere else.
Yeah, and I think that's sometimes a trap that agency owners fall into anyways, like meeting up for coffees and lunches with people that aren't the best leads. So I think if you're going to do consults, don't frame it as like, oh, just sign up for your free, 30-minute consult. Almost treat it like a prize. Like if you're doing a webinar or speaking at an event or something where you're kind of already establishing yourself as an expert, at the end of it, you could say like, hey, if you fill out this form or text this number or whatever, we'll put you in a draw, and we've got like 5 slots open, and I'll do 30-minute consulting with them. Introduce a little bit of scarcity, I think, is the way to do it. The other one is audits or analysis, which is kind of neat. So it's like if somebody applies, you could maybe look at their website, run them through some free tools like HubSpot's Website Grader. There's tons of different tools out there. You can use BuzzSumo, Positionally, pull together a bunch of information about their website, and then produce like a branded report. Again, like consulting, that's something you kind of want to be careful not to do too much of. You want to make sure they're really qualified leads. But it can be a nice foot in the door offer to get people sort of, showing them almost where they're going wrong. So it's like, hey, we can fix it. Here's where your website's broken, or here's where your marketing funnel's broken. Here's how we can fix it. So that's one. Another one would be like an email course, and we've actually done this ourselves. We've it's been pretty successful, as you can sign up for like a 5-day email course, and every day you get like a different, almost like a different chapter in a book emailed. So using the example of, so we did one called, I think it was how to write a business proposal, 5-day email course. We get quite a few signed up to that. Nice thing too is that you're not trying to sell them right away. You just you give them that free content, and then every day it's sort of, they're used to seeing you come in their inbox and giving away some cool info, and so you're kind of warming them up to, by like day 4 or 5, that's when you want to start being like, okay, now try buying this offer, right? Right. Again, using the example of like a marketing company, could be a free email course, 5 steps to increase your online bookings by 106%, something really specific. Because you'd think, like, if you're working with travel and hotel brands, it's like that's what they're looking for. Like, they're trying to increase bookings. So how can you create something that's like, here's how to do it?
Heads in beds.
Heads in beds. Is that an industry lingo?
Yeah, back when I was with an agency, we had a few hotel clients.
Nice, heads in beds. Yeah. All right, now we know. Another one would be a report. So a report wouldn't be anything that's really customized for the individual. It would be more so like a free, maybe you've done a bunch of, pulled together some stats and some metrics or something and produced like a report on, whatever industry. something that people want to find, like what are the trends for 2016, that kind of stuff works really well as a lead magnet.
Yes.
We did it ourselves with the proposal driven guide.
That was an awesome guide.
Yeah, and it converts pretty well for us. You know, we don't really do a lot of marketing of it. Like we don't drive ads to it or anything, but it converts at about 30% of people who sign up.
Amanda Holmes on that podcast said that she uses that type of approach quite a bit. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, there could be an example. If you're that mobile app company, maybe it's 3 mobile statistics every SaaS company needs to know in 2016, just as an example, right? And if, of course, if you don't have any stats or you don't produce software that pulls those things, you know, you could use stuff like Google Scholar. You like Statista.
Yes, I do.
Use that a lot.
They're excellent.
Tons of places to find stats now. So those are some ideas to get you started. There's a few other ones in there, but I will let people who are interested check out that blog post. Whatever. I think the title might change once Patrick does his SEO stuff to it. But for now, it's called "Does Your Digital Agency Have a Lead Magnet? 8 Ideas to Get You Started." Kind of a long title, isn't it?
It's all right, though.
Yeah, all right. Yeah. Hope you guys like that. And I hope that was valuable. So that's the thing. Don't be that cobbler's kids. I'm sick of agency owners going like, yeah, that sounds cool. I think I'll do that. And then they're like, yeah, I'll never do that.
Yeah.
Try it out. Let us know how it works.
Don't ever be too busy to work on your own business.
Right?
Bottom line.
Totally.
Yep.
Totally. So with no further ado, let's move on to the interview now with Benjamin Nathan. Pleased to welcome Benjamin Nathan to the show today. Ben is an award-winning director and producer based in New York City who's worked with brands like Johnny Walker, Pepsi Max, and Ford. Ben is also the president and founder of Footage Films based out of New York, and he and his team strive to create video content that moves and inspires. Welcome to the show, Ben.
Thanks so much for having me.
Great. Glad to have you. And how's the weather down in New York right now?
It's beautiful. Not too hot. It's but still really sunny. And this is one of my favorite times of year.
Yeah. Now you promised if you were on the show you'd send us a video of you tap dancing and rapping. Are you gonna do that?
I will send that to you guys. You can put it in the show notes.
Excellent.
You told us earlier that you tap dance and you rap, and I just want to see them together at the same time. Because that sounds like it'd be an exercise in coordination.
I'd like to pull the audio clip out of that and put it into the production.
Cool. Put a part of you can use it in the intro.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Nice.
Okay, we're putting you on the spot here. We didn't discuss any of this beforehand. Really wanted to talk to you about your business. I mean, tell us how obviously you've got a big history working with some really notable producers and doing some really cool things. So I guess kind of what led you to starting Footage Film?
So I first started Footage Films when I graduated from school from University of Massachusetts in 2006. And I started to make my thesis film. And I was like, okay, this is going to be a vehicle for me to do this film and then other projects. And I quickly learned that the best thing for me to do would be to not focus so much on my own business and get experience working for other people. So that's what I did. I put Footage Films on hold and went out and worked for other production companies and did a lot of corporate things and commercials and just all kinds of different projects, documentary projects, TV, and got a lot of amazing education and experience doing that. And then in 2013, I decided to come back to Footage Films full time. And with all the experience I had gleaned and with my own vision for how I wanted to run a business, to start to put that together. And we've been going ever since. So it's been a really amazing time so far. And we have some very exciting things in store.
So who would you say, pardon me, from a sales standpoint, when you're trying to, get a new client project off the ground, who would you kind of say is your ideal client?
So right now we're really focusing on working with agencies. The reason I love working with agencies is because first of all, when you're working with a client directly, they don't always come with the same. Well, let me rephrase that a little bit. When a client decides that they want to work with an agency, I think they're already putting certain priorities in place where they know what it takes to build a campaign or to build a brand that's really going to resonate with people. And having an agency to collaborate with is a major resource for us. So we've been working with some agencies, and we're building more agency relationships now. And when we do that, it's just a lot of fun. The creative process seems to flow really well. And so that's what we're looking to expand more and more into, is working directly with agencies so that we can work with their brands, and ideally with socially conscious brands. Our goal is to make media that with a responsibility in mind, that when somebody's trusting us with their eyeball time, that we're using it in a positive way.
I wanted to talk about that. So you mentioned that before, that it's important to you that you run a socially conscious business. Now, what does that mean to you? What is social consciousness in your eyes?
Sure. So I think there are a wide range of definitions for that. The way I would define it is that when there is an apparent conflict between my moral imperative and my profit imperative, that I really weigh out what the effects of my decisions are going to be on the concentric circles of communities around the transactions that we're doing. So that might sound a little bit wordy, but for instance, like, we're not going to work with a weapons manufacturer. We're not going to work with that's been like the clearest kind of example that I can give of like things that I wouldn't do in terms of taking on a client. But then at the same time, it's also about how do you conduct the business day to day. And there's little decisions that come up all the time that beg the question, like, okay, this might be the most profitable thing in the short term, but is it really aligned with my values in the long term? Mm-hmm. And looking at that every day, and our whole team does that and carries that through from on all levels of the business.
Yeah, we had a conversation a few episodes back with a company. It was an SEO company.
That's organic SEO, right?
Well, those guys too. It was more recent than that. It was one based out of Portland, Oregon. The names escaped me for a minute. But what they actually did was it was important for him, the founder, to run a socially conscious business, and they actually had their employees vote on bringing in a new client. So if there was a new client on the table or whatever, he would actually put it to an anonymous vote, and then based on the score, they would decide whether or not to take on the client, which was kind of neat.
Yeah, I think there's such a wide range. I mean, especially when you're working within a creative industry, creative people tend to have all different ways of interpreting things. And I think what's important is to be involved in that conversation. There isn't one way to necessarily do this, but I'm really looking to build a community of other business people that are interested in that conversation and want to continue to engage in that. So I've started to blog about that more and put out some video blogs and build a mailing list around that of people who want to talk about those kinds of things.
Now, can that become a liability when you've got let's say an agency client who's a big agency and they're bringing you tons of work and partnering with you, and one of their clients, maybe not all their clients, but one of them, you don't feel, maybe they're not a weapons manufacturer, but it's sort of right on the line of, do you work with them? But at the same time, if you say no, maybe that agency from now on starts bringing in another video partner. Have you ever kind of come up to those sort of, crises of conscience?
That's a great question. I did, in my, as Footage Films, I haven't come up against that directly yet. But what I did come up against was working for another production company before I started my business. I was offered my first directing gig to direct something that was going to air nationally for an organization. I won't go into details, but basically it was really not aligned with my personal values. And I went to my boss and I said, listen, I really appreciate this opportunity. It's amazing. And I can't do it because I also need to sleep at night. And it just doesn't work for me. And I was concerned I might get fired. I didn't know what was going to happen. And he was very respectful. And he said, you know what? I totally get it. Everyone's got to work by their own standards. And we continued to have a great working relationship after that. So I was very fortunate to have someone on the receiving end that was willing to to work with me on that. But I think, a person needs to weigh for themselves, what are they willing to say yes to or say no to, that's contrary to really who they are. And are you in business to just make a profit, or are you in business for something that includes profit but also includes the ramifications of your actions?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think it's it goes to show that people who do things just for money, it's almost counterintuitive. The more you just go after money, almost the harder it is to make it, in a sense. Like, you talked about this in one of your blog posts about how, and this is kind of leading to a bit of a different conversation, where you were struggling a little bit in your business to get, at one point, to kind of get clients in the door. And then, you sort of changed your mindset in terms of how you go after business. Can you tell us about that a little bit?
Sure, yeah. And I love talking about this. So, so it was towards the beginning of this new iteration of my business, and we were like, it was just a slow period, as everyone goes through those kinds of periods. And I was really in the like sell mindset at that point, and I decided to shift the conversation. And my girlfriend, well, now my wife, but she was my girlfriend at the time, she said, like, why don't
you said girlfriend at the time in the blog post, I assumed you guys were broken up now.
Oh,
okay, so she's now your wife. That's good to hear.
My incredible, amazing wife. And so yeah, she suggested, why don't you instead shift to being a resource for people? Just put stuff out there. You have a lot of knowledge, and just see what happens. So I went with that. And the next day I made a video and I just put it out there, giving people some marketing advice. And very few people saw the video, but what happened was amazing. In the next like 48 hours, 6 different clients came to me, even people who had previously said no. And we closed 6 deals in the next 48 hours, which was unbelievable. One company who had said no, they didn't have a budget, they came back to us at like 5:00 on a Friday to say, no, we found the money, we want to do it. So it was just really uncanny. And those kinds of things have happened over and over again in my experience, where when you shift basically from an attitude of scarcity to one of abundance, that I have so much that I'm giving it away for free, this advice, whatever it is that you can share with people for free, your whole the whole vibe around you shifts, and people get attracted to that.
That's the thing that it's so true. A lot of times agency owners are very protective of their, what they consider to be their IP, their processes,
Sure.
Insight into how they help their clients, and they don't want to. They think of it as very proprietary, so they hold it in and they don't share it with others, thinking that if they do, people will steal their ideas. But it has that completely opposite effect, where the more you share what you know, the more it actually establishes you as an expert, and the more people trust you and the more clients you get.
Exactly.
So it sounds like you had the same experience.
Absolutely. I mean, people want to work with people that they like. And if you're generous and you're giving and you're, I'm not saying give away the store. I wouldn't do the actual work for free, but I'm suggesting that people are working with you mostly in our business because of those relationships. And you could be the greatest agency in the world, but if people don't like you, they're probably not going to work with you. So it's those relationships and the energy that people get from you while you're interacting with them, or even seeing you in a video, that's kind of like the next best thing that propels people, I think, to want to take that step.
Mm. And like you said, there wasn't that many people that saw it, but it was still enough for you to close like 6 deals in 48 hours or whatever,
Yeah,
it's
but
like
the crazy thing was, those people who closed the deals with me didn't even see the video.
Oh, really? So it was just like the karma you put out.
Exactly. I mean, whatever you want to call that, right? People call it different things, but it's so I think of it as like the energy or the vibe around me. Like, am I being desperate, or am I being abundant and like just sharing with people? And people, that resonates. Something, I don't know exactly how it works, but something works.
I also think that sometimes people think that they don't think that there's anything they can share that's truly valuable. Like, whatever I can, whatever I think about marketing or design or whatever subject, there's somebody out there who knows more, who's better at it than me, who's probably giving even more valuable information. I think that kind of fear, that sort of imposter syndrome, holds a lot of people back too, where they don't realize you don't need to be the top influencer in the world to talk about whatever it is, branding and marketing or whatever subject it is. You don't need to be at the top. You can still, you can still build your own tribe. It doesn't have to be, you don't have to be the Seth Godin to talk about marketing, and still kind of build up your own personal brand, right?
Exactly, because how many people out there are in the same place that you're at? How many people out there need that encouragement from somebody who's in a similar place in their career as you, or maybe you're a few years ahead of other people who are listening in terms of where they want to go. There's always, and also you can, once you put yourself out there, then you also put yourself in a position to learn from other people. You might actually get in contact with the people that you aspire to meet and to learn from through putting your own ideas out there. And you don't need to profess to be a guru. You just need to share what you actually know. And it could be helpful to people.
I think anybody who does profess to be a guru probably isn't one.
Right. If you're labeling yourself as one, that might be questionable.
Yeah, exactly. So what, maybe share with us some of the work that you've done with Footage Films. I guess, you've talked a little bit about you like to work with agencies, but what type of videos do you like to create, like from an advertising standpoint, or do you like kind of delve into more just content that's not sort of on the advertising marketing side?
Sure. So yeah, I'll give you a range of what we do. So we do a lot of advertising and marketing. And sometimes that's commercials. Sometimes it's, content that's going to go straight to digital. And that can take all different kinds of shapes because of the nature of digital itself. Sometimes it's documentary. Sometimes it's like product launch videos. Sometimes it's educational. We did a really amazing project with Johnny Walker that was educational as part of the Next Step series about it was targeted to bar owners and restaurateurs around the country to learn about the importance of craft ice. Sounds like it could be potentially not that interesting, but the guy who delivered this, Richie Baccato, was incredibly fascinating to listen to. And basically, he's a bartender with a chainsaw. So it was cinematically really fascinating to see what he was doing.
Do you mean like ice sculptures?
He creates
What's craft ice?
So yeah, craft ice, I should explain a little more, is they create these blocks of ice in the same machines that you would use to make ice sculptures, but then what they call whacking them down. They whack them down to like much smaller sizes so they actually fit into glasses. So it's like a solid cube that's totally see-through with no impurities of ice for like a shot of scotch. And that scotch stays so much colder, so much longer without the ice melting into it. Because of how pure it is. So it's pretty amazing.
That's pretty cool. Kevin, you're a Scotch drinker.
Yes, I am, and I used to be a professional bartender. I wish they had that around when I was around as a bartender.
Can you have them ship some up to Halifax?
Please.
Hopefully they don't melt on the way.
I'll have to look into that. If you guys are in New York, come on down and I'll take you there.
I mean, if it's real craft ice, it's going to stay solid, the whole trip up.
Sounds a bit gimmicky, but people pay for it. What the hell?
It's interesting. So we do all. So it's really a range of things. We also do our own social impact films, which essentially we use a percentage of the profits that we earn from our client-based work to fund these as seed funding, at least for these other projects. One of them is called I Can Dance, which is a documentary project about how dance transforms children's lives in New York public schools. And that's an amazing project that's been in the works for about 8 years. So we're actually just going into post-production on that.
8
super
years.
exciting. Yeah.
It's a long time.
These, with films, they can take a long time to happen. And you just have to, it's about perseverance and sticking with the vision and, believing in what you're doing. That's what's kept me with this project for so long.
Mm-hmm.
Do you work with a lot of national endowments for the arts in the U.S.?
We have done, we haven't worked directly with the National Endowment for the Arts. We have worked with organizations that benefit from them.
Right.
And we actually did a really cool project around December, January last year, which was with Turnaround Arts, which is part of the President's Committee on the Arts. And basically we created videos that can be used by classroom teachers to bring dance and movement into the classroom in an
Very
academic setting. It's great, very usable stuff. So we do a whole, it's a range of things, from traditional brands to nonprofits to these documentary projects and some films, fashion, beauty.
Well, when you do films, have you done any? Are they short films? Are they feature length? Is that kind of where you want to go with it? Is true? Yeah.
Yeah. So we're moving more and more into doing some short films that are narrative right now, and with the goal, definitely in the next few years, to do some feature narrative projects and possibly some feature documentary projects. So we're in conversations about some of those, which is really exciting to be moving in that direction.
Wow. Yeah, that's like bucket list for me.
Yeah, Kyle, in his next life, he's going to be a director, I think, or a producer.
Hopefully not next life.
Oh, yeah, hopefully this life.
Well, I don't mean literally, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
When I'm dead.
No, but our goal, I think, with all of our work is to do something that touches someone emotionally. Even if it's funny, it's still touching an emotion, and that emotion drives action. So, that's very clear with a product video or commercial where you want the action to be buying that product or signing up for something. And we want to, if someone finishes watching something that we've made and they feel good, but they haven't done anything, I always ask myself, did we do our job? Because it's got to translate to concrete action. With the dance film also, it's about people getting active in their communities and making sure the arts are staying in education, bringing the arts into their schools. We want to see people do something from having watched what we've created.
Mm-hmm. I noticed, kind of looking at your stuff, that you've got a pretty small team, in terms of everybody seems very specialized. You've got a cinematographer, an editor. So do you guys, do you find you have to be very selective on what you take on?
Well, we scale up or scale down depending on the project. So, there's shoots where we're working with a crew of 17 or 20 people. And then we have, several editors going at once sometimes. Other times it's smaller. We have, the core team that you're seeing on our website. So it really depends on the project. So we are flexible enough through our really amazing, our great network of amazing people to be able to expand to take on more work. But there have been times when we've been just really swamped and say, listen, we'd love to work with you, but we can't right now.
Yeah, I suppose with video too, you most of the crew is really on contract depending on the project, right? Boom mic operators and people like that.
Right, that's not someone you need on full-time staff necessarily.
That's right.
Do you guys have a pretty strong union down there you have to work with?
It depends on the project. Most of our projects are non-union. If there's a really large campaign, then that's something that might need to be union, but it just depends on the project. And then you bring in different partners to make those things work. But of course, there's a huge union presence in the film and TV industry in New York.
Mm-hmm. What do you think of, obviously being in a place like New York, where obviously there's a lot of business out there, a lot of things happening. Do you find that location is a huge advantage that you have over, say, there might be a video company listening that, they're based out of Cleveland, Ohio, or something like that, or Halifax, Nova Scotia. How important for you guys is it to be in New York?
I think there's a big importance to being in New York. I grew up in Manhattan. There's kind of a cachet of a New York production company. I think that resonates with a lot of people. Not to say that that's the only thing that can work. I think there's also a lot of competition in New York. There's tons and tons of production companies. There's a lot of people, doing, on the surface at least, similar work. So I think there's, with that advantage also comes more perceived competition. I personally don't choose to think of it as competition. I rather think of it as potential collaborators. But in a smaller market, there's less of that, and perhaps more, not a quote unquote monopoly, but easier to get in because you're right there and you might be the only game in town.
Mm-hmm. Do you ever actually go head to head with other companies? Let's say if somebody's, they're looking at partnering with a film company for a particular project, do you find yourselves actually going up and pitching against other video companies?
Sure. I mean, we're not doing that in person. Usually those, it's one-on-one with each production company, but I know that there have been many projects where we've been up against other production companies. And, I think everyone puts their strongest foot forward, I think, again, it's about relationships. So when you're building that relationship over time, I find that usually a relationship can often take 1 to 2 years to go from a first meeting to business. So it's really about the longer game, even if you've pitched something and not won it with that client, just to stay in contact and keep that relationship going and keep offering them things, just little tidbits here and there that might be helpful for them, keeping an eye out for them.
So as a film geek, who's your favorite director or favorite movie in the last year?
Great question. My favorite filmmaking team, I'd have to say, is probably the Coen brothers. I did a lot of work analyzing their films when I was in school, and just like crazy about their stuff. Big Lebowski, one of my favorite films of all time, especially the way they use philosophical and psychological concepts in their characters.
I like your style, dude.
But that's just like your opinion, man.
Exactly. And the past year, I don't know.
Did you see their latest one, the Coen Brothers' latest one? I didn't see it.
Hail Caesar.
Hail Caesar, yeah.
Hail Caesar was great. I mean, what was genius about Hail Caesar is that it leaves you. Hopefully, this is not a spoiler for anybody, but it leaves you dissatisfied. And I think that that's one of the strongest statements that they're making in the film. A lot of people didn't like it because of that. But I think they were doing that intentionally because they're kind of pushing and poking at the established Hollywood industry. That there's always this neat little ending with a bow on it. And they're saying, here, we're not going to give you that. This looks like a huge, big Hollywood production, but we're not going to give you that satisfaction.
I don't think even going back to like Blood Simple, their first movie, like the Coen brothers have never tried to like leave you with a nice, tidy, wrapped up ending.
Exactly. So I love that they buck the system in that way, and yet they're still able to function within it. I think, even going back to one of your earlier questions about, working with clients that don't necessarily 100% align with values, there's a great question that one of my mentors brought up to me once. And he said, do you really want to just rule out an entire industry of people just because on the surface they don't align with you? And he made the point that once you're working with somebody, you actually have a greater ability to influence them and maybe introduce some different ideas to them than if you never have an interaction with them at all. So the Coen brothers similarly are able to work within an industry that does put little pretty bows on things, and yet they don't do that, and they're kind of subversive within the industry. So there's not clear-cut answers to all these things. I think it's really about taking a critical and thoughtful and kind of intuitive eye to each one of these situations that comes up.
Very interesting. Well, I feel like I could probably do like a weekly call with you just to chat movies. Seems like it would be a lot of fun. Schedule that in. Ben, thanks so much for being on the show. It was great to hear all about your company and your experience, and super interesting. And people should definitely check out your site, footageFilmsinc.com. We will post a link to that in the show notes.
Great.
Thanks so much for being on.
If anyone is interested in joining this conversation that we're having about socially conscious business, I'm also building a list of people who want to talk about that, and that's at benjaminryannathan.com. People can sign up, and I'll be sending out blog posts and other things that people may find interesting about building a socially conscious business.
Very cool. We will post a link to that as well.
Yeah.
Great. Thanks so much for having me, guys.
Thanks,
all right.
Ben.
Thanks for being on.
Appreciate it.
All right. Take care.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Agencies Drinking Beer. If you enjoyed it, we'd appreciate it if you rate and or review us on the iTunes Store. If you have a story or lesson to share with other agency owners and managers from around the world, hit us up. Just email Kyle or Kevin at proposify.biz. And also, if you write business proposals and you want to make that process a whole lot easier and more streamlined, check out proposify.biz and sign up for a free 30-day trial. Cheers!